Hi friends, it's Deanna Willison from Our Blooming Catholic Life, and today we're going to talk a little bit about complacency. So I don't know if you've seen it. The health department in Vietnam has come out with this viral video, and it's a cartoon and dance video and shows everybody, like it's the newest dance craze, and it's washing your hands. And it's just funny how much soap is gone in hand sanitizer. Like, we should have been washing our hands all along normally. Plus, it was cold and flu season, so still should have been washing our hands more. So why is the people that don't really wash their hands, and like, why don't they stay home when they're sick? They always think like, oh, it's that other guy that got me sick at work, but you don't realize that if you go to work sick, you're getting everybody sick. And same with school. Like, sending your kid to school is just getting more kids sick. Why would you do that? And I think it's just complacency. Number one, you think it's never you. And two, complacency. So when we look at Israel, right, they were in Egypt, and here's this guy Moses and his brother Aaron, they're old men, coming and saying, oh, we're going to save you. And the people are like, yeah, I mean, this kind of sucks right now in Egypt. You know, we ended up in slavery, and they're killing our firstborn son, and like, what's going on with that? And I don't know, though, that they really wanted to leave Egypt. But this is what Moses came, and this is how it ended up, right? Things got out of control. I think they just thought Moses was going to come and maybe give Egypt a stern talking to, and things were going to get better because they had food, they had shelter, you know, they had everything they kind of needed in Egypt, and it had only gotten ugly recently, right? So they're probably like, oh yeah, Moses, yeah, he's just going to come and make things better. But no, Moses is like, nope, we're leaving here. It's not just to go worship God in the desert anymore. We're out of here. And I don't know that the people were ready for that, right? I don't know that they were ready for it. And so when it came that way, I think they were thrown off because they weren't, I don't know that they were ready for it. As miserable as they were, I was talking this weekend to somebody, abusive relationships, as miserable as you are, and even this coronavirus, as scared as you are you ready to depend on God, on one God, right? He's a triune God, but he's one God. And in Egypt, like, you could pray to the God of rain, and then if that didn't work, you could pray to the God of good fortune. And if that didn't work, you could hedge your bets by praying to all these different gods, right? There wasn't one that you had to depend on. And it was kind of more comfortable. You had, like I say, you're hedging all your bets. You have multiple ones you can go to. You don't have to be dependent on one God to do everything, because that's scary, right? Anybody who's been married knows that is scary, to be vulnerable to one person. That's scary. But that's the thing. God came as the betrothed, right? They've forgotten that one true God of Abraham wasn't just the one true God of Abraham, that he was coming to wed Israel. So the Egyptians had given him all this gold and silver. So that's kind of like getting a dowry, right? And then God promised them all these ancestral lands that they were going to go to. That's like when you get married, you move oftentimes, into your husband's property or family's property. Like, that's a thing. And God even gave them food on the journey. It's kind of like, like a wedding feast there. They're getting the food of angels. Your wedding does not get much better than that. Even pure water from the rock, right? Pure water. Not stanky water from the Nile that you had to like purify yourself. I don't know that anybody drank water from the Nile. All that hippo poo and stuff, I don't know that people were drinking it. But this is pure water straight from a rock. The food of angels. Like, that's pretty amazing. And he even gave them a guide. He gave them Moses to prepare them and bring them out. Moses and Aaron to prepare them and bring them out. And they still betrayed him. They got nervous. They were that nervous bride, right? And they're like, ah. And they literally betrayed him with others. And we hear that expression, they betrayed him with the golden calf. But do you realize that is betraying their beloved? That's like cheating on your fiance right there. And it wasn't just in a small way. They took that dowry that God had given them, all that dowry, right? And they used it to cheat on him. That's insane. That is just insane. And I don't know that they had prepared. So then they had to spend their time in the desert. So the time in the desert, like before the wedding, when you're saving up for the feast and you're doing all this planning and maybe you're making your own favors and things. So you're spending a lot of time preparing for the wedding. So Egypt technically had that time. They had that time of, Israel had that time. They had that time in Egypt, right? Where they were preparing. They had that time of suffering, of longing. But I don't know that they were suffering and longing and thinking of God, thinking of that day that God was coming for them. Really, I don't think they took it seriously. I think they were complacent. They knew the stories, but I don't think they took them seriously. I don't think they were preparing and just really getting their hearts and minds set on the day that God comes. Are we going to be ready? Are our hearts going to be clean? Are we going to be ready for him when he comes? And I don't think they were. So how did they win back the trust? Well, God gave them conditions, right? He's like, well, here are my rules. Like, here are my conditions for taking you back. And he gave them the commandments, right? And those commandments were very specific for Israel. He's like, this is the way you win back my trust. I'll forgive you, absolutely. But trust you again, here's the things you need to do to show me that you're serious this time, right? And that's funny because even for us, like, how do we do it now? Well, yeah, we follow the 10 commandments, but those were specifically written for Israel in that time, some of them. And so some of them we kind of laugh at because, I mean, don't kill. Okay, I don't kill people. Yay, me, you know? Like, I don't think that's when showing God how serious I am. But so how are we doing it? We need to cleanse ourselves. So we need to go to confession, right? When we beg for divine mercy, we can go deeper into that reflection. I don't know if you've ever heard, there is a recording. I have found it still available, but only as an MP3 download. I'm not sure why it's not available in other formats right now, but I have found it as an MP3 download, and it is the Stations of the Cross done with divine mercy. And here's why I love that. Because we were talking the other day about what's our Easter moment, that moment where we're going to be called upon to give our fiat. I mean, it'd be lovely if it was just like, an angel appeared in our room and was like, are you going to do God's will? And we're like, yes or no, right? If it was that easy, awesome. But it's not usually that easy for us, right? It's an Easter moment. Are you going to sit at that foot of the cross and say that you know that man up there, that you were the reason that he's there? Are you willing to say that? And that's scary. So our Easter moment actually normally comes in little bits, like the Stations of the Cross. But here's the thing, they don't always come as Jesus's Stations of the Cross. There's still those stations, but along the way, there's also things like disciples acting like they don't know him, like not making eye contact with him while he's carrying the cross, right? Then there's, maybe they start forward. Maybe they see Veronica going forward with her veil to wipe his sweat and brow, and they're like, why didn't I think of that? Maybe they're outright like Peter denying him. So in with Jesus' Stations of the Cross, we kind of have our own moments too of failure that we don't talk about. Thank God we don't. When we talk about the Stations of the Cross, we talk about what Jesus did, how he got up again, how he picked that cross back up and did it, how he bore those stripes for us. And we go on and on at the things Jesus did for us. And thankfully, God kind of edited out that crappy stuff that we did to him during that time. Like, the crappier stuff is edited out, right? But it's there. So are you ready? Are you ready to go into that moment? Look at the Stations of the Cross, and in each of them say, am I willing to be there? Would I be willing to do that again for him? Would I deny him? What would I be doing if I was there and saw him doing that? Would I be with him every step of the way? Would I be praying to the Father every step of the way? Because at this point, he had taught us the Lord's Prayer. Would I be calling on the Father when I saw the Son suffering for me? Would I do that? Would I stand at the foot of the cross and see the church be born and give praise to God and give my fiat that I was going to do everything in my power to work with that? Or was I going to turn and walk away disillusioned that his kingdom was not of this world? Because again, just like Egypt, the Jews had been heralding him as a king. They thought he was going to come in as this triumphant military king, right? They thought he was going to do that again. And not even just like Moses, because they were a little bit disappointed in Moses that he wasn't like, more dramatic and instantaneous. So they were hoping for this onslaught, this big military leader. He's going to have this big military victory, and they were going to be on top again because they were only thinking of this world and what was good for them in the here and now. They weren't thinking we'd already done that. We'd already learned that lesson over and over, and God didn't want to give them a king for this world. He wanted to give them the kingdom forever. And that means fighting the battle inside of each of us, along those stations of the cross, giving our fiat at every step of the way. And when we fall, Jesus picks us back up again. It's not just the cross, right? Because our sins are what put him, or what's on that cross, right? That cross is our sins. And when we fall, when we sin against him, he picks us back up again and begins again. He begins again. Are we ready to say that? Are we willing to trust him that much? Can we do that? Think of even the mysteries of the joyful rosary, the one where Mary has lost Jesus, right? And they find him in the temple. And the fruit of that mystery is said to be joy in finding Jesus. But what if the fruit of that mystery is complete trust in the Father's plan? Complete trust. What if it's that? Are we ready for that moment?